All right, what is going on, everybody? Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. I'm going to need everyone to do me a quick favor. I just need to make sure everybody can hear me and they could hear me properly. I was having some audio issues, so still trying to make sure that it's all good. So if you guys don't mind, just give me a heads up that you guys hear me loud and clear, and that's all I really care about. Lakers over the Pelicans. 111 to 103, the final score. So Lakers end up getting the victory over New Orleans. A lot to get into in the post-game show. Spent a lot of time talking about LeBron. Certainly talk about some of the other role players. Loved Ayton's aggressiveness tonight. I think there's only so much that we're asking for from DeAndre Ayton. And obviously that part would be fantastic if he could do it on a more consistent basis. So I got people telling me that the audio is all clear. So we'll run with it. Anyways, technical issues. It happens. I'm a little bit later than I want it to be, but we'll break everything down. So, okay. So let's kind of get into the game. There's a few things that I'm going to kind of key in on in regards to the game tonight. Again, there will probably be a similar theme. The Lakers beating the Pelicans doesn't all of a sudden make them the best team in the Western Conference, but just beat the teams that are in front of you. And they're 3-0 in their last three games against teams that they should beat, that you're expecting for them to beat. And whatever the priority is for some of these teams, the Pelicans, I'm sure they want to win. They're getting healthier. They had some better players than they've had in the past. Zion played, Herb Jones played, Trey Murphy III dropped 40 plus on the Lakers. So I know that as you kind of watch Lakers basketball, I'm sure there's a lot of people that can say, well, Al, it doesn't mean anything. It's just the Pelicans, this, that. I'm not here to argue any of that. You want to go impress some people, go beat the Spurs tomorrow. However, Lakers do win again, and their record is now 23-11. And I saw something a little bit earlier. It's actually pretty cool, seeing some of these stats that they have. I think 16-3 versus teams that are below 500. I know some people would say, well, why is that impressive? It's impressive because a lot of the times it's the frustrating losses that are most frustrating. That doesn't mean that the Lakers don't have to go beat some good teams. It just means that that's an impressive record. 23-11 is the third best record in the Western Conference. That's where the Lakers are sitting. What were they trying to say? I think it's the fourth best record overall, if I'm correct here. Fourth best record in the NBA. Fourth best record in the NBA. Detroit, Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and the Lakers. By the way, Spurs lost again tonight. So there's another team that in the Western Conference, you got a lot of people playing either 500 or a little bit over 500. So it just kind of gives you an idea from that perspective how some of the other teams around the league are doing. For me, and I'll talk about kind of a big picture perspective, and then I'll talk about just kind of this game individually. Let's kind of get into the details of this game, and then we'll worry about all that stuff as we move on. So here's what I would say. I think the thing that probably sticks out to me the most as we sit here, how good was LeBron tonight? How good was LeBron tonight? I mean, I kind of look at tonight's game, and I think the one thing that I walk away from is just when you kind of start thinking to yourself, you start saying to yourself, he's just too old. It's just going to be this downward spiral for LeBron James. Here's LeBron tonight, and here's LeBron in his last three games. Tonight, 38-8. They don't win this game tonight without LeBron. I know it's the Pelicans. I know they got the worst record in the Western Conference. They don't win the game tonight without LeBron. He was fantastic to close out that third quarter. He was fantastic to start out the fourth quarter. Did just enough. I think when the Lakers were down 9, goes on his own. I want to call it 8-0 run, something along those lines. But I know he had 8 points in a row for the Lakers in that stretch between the end of the third quarter, start of the fourth quarter. There was a lineup out there that everybody kind of seemed to be clicking. Everybody seemed to be on the same page. Luka was sitting on the sidelines. LeBron won the Lakers this game tonight. Not to say that there weren't other players that contributed, not to say that this is the biggest win of the season. It is the Pelicans, so I'm going to I'll continue to repeat that. But here's LeBron in his last 3 games for the Lakers, or his last handful of games for the Lakers. Let's call it the last 3, and we'll kind of get into, the game before that was against the Pistons, so that's not something really to talk about. 31, 9, and 6 against the Grizzlies, 26, 10, and 7 against the Grizzlies, and then 38 and 8 against the Pels. Guys, he's still doing it. I mean, he's still making it happen. He's still doing it. He's still phenomenal. He's still putting up big time numbers. And I heard him post game with Mike Trudell, and I also heard him a little bit later as well. But I heard them basically talking about how seeing LeBron, or LeBron was talking about how in an ideal world, he would have hoped that he had that opportunity to be in training camp, be in preseason, let him, Luka, and AR get as many reps as they can together. Well, that obviously hasn't happened, and it probably don't be expecting that. But here's LeBron still doing it. Here's LeBron still making it happen and putting up monster numbers. Redick said something post-game. I don't think I got the quote, but it said something like, there's greatness, and he's always kind of been great, but this is a different level, or it's a different type of greatness. And I think he's referring to obviously what he's doing at age 41, but getting to the basket, still hitting threes. Here's the other thing too that I think is important to point out. He looked comfortable. He looked smooth. It looked natural. He looked more like he's in his flow state, and it's just the natural rhythm of the game rather than it being forced or anything like that. So I won't spend too much time on LeBron, but they don't win this game without LeBron. And if you go look at his last 3 games, he's been excellent. Now, the question is going to be, okay, well, the Lakers go 3-0. Obviously, the type of teams that they're winning over this 3-game stretch, none of these teams are teams that are going to be anywhere near the playoff picture. Maybe the Grizzlies can sneak into that playing tournament, but they're not going to get out of that playing tournament. But with that in mind, the team and the Lakers, yes, they're doing it against teams that are below 500, but I do think these 3 wins in a row were important to just kind of start getting back on track, start getting a little bit more confidence. But more importantly for LeBron, he looked excellent tonight. He just looked great. And I go back to it, and I'll continue to probably say it. It's not just the stats. These are not stats where somebody could say, oh, he's stat padding, he's this. They needed every point that he had. They needed every assist that he had. They needed every rebound that he had. So LeBron with the 38 and 8, wildly impressive for the Lakers tonight, and that was fun to watch, and certainly for a team that had to have it. There was no excuse. You could not lose to the Pelicans. I mean, can you imagine? I mentioned this before. Could you imagine if they lost this game tonight, and then you got the Spurs coming up tomorrow? They only play. There was another stat that I had here. Tomorrow is the only game in a 9-game stretch where they play a team over 500. So if you want to take advantage of your schedule, if you want to take advantage that all your injuries are right now, if you want to take advantage of how bad these teams are that are in front of you, now is the time to take advantage of it, because I'm sure down the road it ain't going to look like that, and the record or the schedule will look a lot more difficult. And that's not to say Lakers got layups. They don't. I think Atlanta will be a headache. I think Milwaukee could be a headache. I think there's going to be teams out there that could be headaches for the Lakers that also don't have these unbelievable records. But take advantage of the schedule they have in front of you, and they're doing that right now. And like I mentioned, LeBron dropping the 38 and 8. Other thing I want to mention here, and I think it is something to kind of point out here because we don't do it very often. Lakers were phenomenal in the fourth quarter, and they were also phenomenal on defense. They gave up 17 points in the fourth quarter. That's it. 32-17 was the Lakers' advantage. That's phenomenal. I don't care who the hell you're playing. It's not like the Pelicans don't have talent. I mean, if you really look at the Pelicans team, Zion obviously has got a ton of talent. Every day that goes by, you wonder if this guy's going to be able to kind of put it together and put a really, really good season together on a consistent basis where he's healthy. Some of the other players for the Pelicans, well, a lot of them have been rumored around the Lakers. By the way, Herb Jones tonight, 3 points. That's it. 1 of 9 from the field, 1 of 6 from the 3-point line. If that was his audition for the Lakers, that was not a good audition. But the real player tonight was Trey Murphy III. The reason why I'm kind of pointing out some of their guys is they got some talent. It's not like they have nobody. Um, and oh my God, how bad was Jordan Poole? I don't even know what Jordan Poole's stats are. I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm not going to get into it. But remember when Jordan Poole was actually a significant player? Not significant, but he was a really good player for the Golden State Warriors. They got some players on their roster, at least some name guys. Trey Murphy goes for 42, hits 6 threes. By the way, he took 17 threes. They got some players on their team. They got some players on their roster. At the same time, as you kind of look at just kind of the totality of it, the Lakers defense in that fourth quarter to give up only 17 points, you can really say that that's kind of the game, right? If you go through a stretch, especially late in the game, where you can lock down another squad, we never talk about the Lakers defense ever. There's nothing ever to talk about. I mean, I don't typically have anything to say about the Lakers defense. Defensively for the Lakers tonight, just to kind of give you an idea. Or just to highlight some of the players. Jake LaRavia probably didn't have unbelievable stats, had a couple of steals. LeBron had a couple of steals. Marcus Smart's always going to be very aggressive on the defensive side. Ayton had a couple of block shots. So it was just kind of nice to see. Vando all over the place, as always, had a couple steals as well. So it was nice to see a few of those other Laker players contributing on the defensive side. And I'm going to take advantage of a post-game show where I could talk about the Lakers defense because I never get the chance to do that because there's not really typically something to talk about on the defensive side. I'm going to get into some of the other individual players. We'll do that in just a second. Before I do, why don't we take a look at some of the comments here and get some people's reaction to the game and go from there. Let's see what we got here. I love how LeBron controls the tempo. My guy is getting his legs underneath him, and it's showing. He looked phenomenal tonight. And I've been critical about LeBron, and that's part of my job to do so. But just phenomenal tonight. And I think, and hopefully for a lot of people that are sitting here and they're watching the Laker game tonight, or watch the actual game and are tuning into the post-game show, however you're doing this, yeah, just kind of appreciate what it is, because that was pretty damn impressive tonight. Like you said, getting his legs underneath him, probably the most important thing, but definitely impressive what they did. All right, Spurs are the best team. Lakers got the Spurs. Who'd Spurs lose to tonight? I'm going to take a look at the Spurs. I'll come back to Spurs later. They lost to Memphis tonight. Their last two losses are Memphis and Portland. Damn. Maybe there is a little window or an opportunity for the Lakers. Let's see what we got here. People act like the Spurs are to be feared. Didn't they just lose to a bad team? LA just beat twice. I think the problem with the Spurs is they match up really well against the Lakers, and then they play really hard against the Lakers. So maybe some of these teams don't always do it that way, but definitely, there are a lot of teams, it feels like, that get up for the San Antonio Spurs. No question about it. Let me get to a few more of these here. A couple supers here. AR, thank you very much for the 10 spot. I appreciate it. Slee, I didn't know to ask the game yet. No, we got a W. Give it to me, the details. I'll give you the details. Very, very simple. I'll give you the details. LeBron was excellent tonight. The Pelicans aren't a good team. Lakers locked down on defense in the fourth quarter. Ayton stepped up and had some good energy. Luka in his sleep gets you 30 and 10. And the Lakers took advantage of a game and an opportunity that they had. And honestly, that's kind of that's to summarize the game. They were down, I want to say 3 by the time you got to halftime. And then, obviously things kind of started flowing. Really at the start of that end of the third quarter is when things started going the Lakers' way. AR, appreciate you. And you got 2 here just to let me know. I didn't watch the game. It's probably cooking big show. No idea what you're talking about. I appreciate the 10 spot a lot, or very, very much. No idea what you were saying in the second one. First one, I got it. I think I delivered. I did my job. Second one, I have no idea what you're talking about there. Let me get one more in here. This is one of our members. Beating bad teams matter. Look at San Antonio. That's a good point. I've never heard it said that way. Beating bad teams matter. It matters for record and seeding. Where it's not going to help you is if you can't beat the elite teams, you're going to eventually have to face the elite teams, and that part's going to be a problem. So Thank you for being a member for 5 months, but I do think you're right on that. I think there's some truth to that. The truth is that beating bad teams does matter, but eventually you're gonna have to beat some good squads. That part's gonna be very important as well for the Lakers. And obviously, that's gonna be their responsibility to do that. Okay, I do want to talk about. Thank you for the supers. Thank you for being a member. I do want to talk a little bit about DeAndre Ayton because I was a fan of what Ayton brought to the table tonight, and some of those expectations what I have for Ayton. Before I do so, shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Shout out to them for being a partner now for a number of years with me. I mean, they were with me on radio. They're here on YouTube as well. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. If you're looking for an injury attorney, Brad Wallace and the team at the Wallace Firm can help. Serious injury, wrongful death case, they can help anybody in the state of California. Just reach out. I'm happy to make an introduction there. Again, if you're not 100% sure, can he help? Can he not? Play it safe. Reach out to myself or go to that website, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. I'll be happy to introduce you. Again, they can help anybody in the state of California. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Okay, let's talk Ayton here for a quick second. I think it's important to talk Ayton because I've definitely spent some time coming at Ayton, and I thought the Lakers did something that was important tonight, and I think this is a good way, hopefully, for them to keep Ayton involved as best as they can. Does anybody have a problem with Ayton taking 16 shots? I don't have a problem with Ayton taking 16 shots. Does anybody have a problem with Ayton playing 32 minutes? Because I do not have a problem with Ayton playing 32 minutes. I loved his activity. I did feel like he looked different tonight. What I mean by that is I think sometimes you can watch certain players play and you got to kind of question their motor and their energy. And I hate to do that, but I do question that with Ayton. There are times that it looks like I'm like, is Ayton all there or is he not? I thought right out the gate, specifically Marcus Smart, I noticed this. I feel like the squad to start this game went to Ayton early. Got him touches, got him looks, got him involved, kept him in the flow of the offense. And Ayton, by the way, wasn't taking shots every single time. There are a couple of times, I think Ayton's a better passer than people think. I think it was Robert Horry that was trying to compliment him in the postgame show. He's basically saying, look, when Ayton gets the ball, free throw line extended, he's got a decision to make. Am I going to try to find somebody who's in the corner? Is the lane wide open for me to get to the basket? Is somebody going to be cutting? I could throw them a lob or a bounce pass. Ayton's got a lot of decisions to make in a split second. All right, that's fine. That comes with the instincts of basketball. Even if Ayton doesn't take a shot, I do think it's smart to get him involved. And if Ayton's the type of player where if you don't get him involved, then he's going to pout or he's not going to give you the energy that he wants, that's unfortunate because I hate to see players – I hate to see their game dictated by that. Jake LaRavia's game is not dictated by that. Austin Reeves' game is not – there's a lot of players out there where – just because they don't get touches, it doesn't affect how they can affect the team or how they can find ways to be useful for the team. Unfortunately, I think that happens too many times with DeAndre Ayton. I thought they involved Ayton tonight. And I was talking this morning about it. I think was it with Kobe or not? I was on with Kobe Price, who joined the show, beat writer for the Lakers. And I think it's smart to involve him. I think it's smart to keep him as without forcing it, right? You just want it to be kind of part of the natural flow of the game. But don't you want your 7-footer involved that actually does have a skill set, that actually does have touch, that can get you some buckets in the paint? Maybe the Lakers are depending a little bit less on their outside shooting and their threes and everything else. I'm a fan of getting him involved. They got him involved tonight. And he delivered for the Lakers. Again, nobody's asking DeAndre Ayton to go out there and give him 25 and 12 a game. 18 and 11. That was his stats tonight. He had 3 assists. He had 2 block shots. He had a steal. That's a fantastic game for DeAndre Ayton. I think Ayton had the highest plus minus. No, Marcus Smart was a plus 14. Ayton was a plus 13. Those were the 2 highest plus minuses that were out there. I mean, for those who pay attention to the plus minus, I don't think it means everything, but I think it means something. Ayton was solid tonight for the Lakers. So it was just good to see. I think there's a few players. If I give you an idea, Marcus Smart, 13 points for the Lakers tonight, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. You take that all day. Jared Vanderbilt, 7 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, a couple of steals. You take that all day. I mean, so you had a few of these role players contribute for the Lakers, which is obviously going to be important. Maybe it's not the difference between a win and a loss versus the Pelicans, but it's definitely a difference between a win or a loss against the San Antonio Spurs. So I just think it depends which team that you're playing. I think it depends on the narrative. It depends on the story. It depends on the records. It depends on the players, the personnel, all that stuff. Yet a few guys contribute for the Lakers tonight. So LeBron, I told you the 38 and 8. That's why they won the game. But DeAndre Ayton was very, very impactful tonight. I felt he was involved. I felt the team got him involved. And I felt like everyone kind of benefited from that. Ayton basically said, involve me and I'll make sure that, you're reaping the benefits of it. And the Lakers benefited from it tonight. Marcus Smart, the 13 points I mentioned. I thought Vando gave them some good minutes off the bench as well. Connect, listen, surprisingly, in 11 minutes of play, I'll take 2 of 4 from the three-point line, 2 of 5 from the field all day long, had 6 points, had a key offensive foul called, kind of, stood in there for a charge. Him and Luka had 2 important charges in the game that you can make the argument that they swung the game. At least that's what JJ Redick was saying. I thought he did a good job as well, and obviously had a number of players that contributed for the Lakers from a bench perspective and also from a role player perspective. LaRavia, 5 points. So he's had 2 of those 20-point performances, a 26-point performance, a 21-point performance. But when the game was on the line, you know who was in there? Jake LaRavia. Played 35 minutes, which kind of tells you that the coach is confident that he's going to make winning plays. He's going to play defense. He had a couple of steals. He's going to play hard. He had 5 rebounds, and I think this is just a regular game for Jake LaRavia. This is what he does. Let's take a look at some more of the comments here. We'll get into Luka here as well. I know I haven't talked Luka yet, but we'll do that in just a little bit. Let's see what everybody's saying here. Jake was passive for most of the game, but had a good offensive rebound. And listen, I'm okay with Jake having one of those games where he came back down to earth. Lakers still won. I think it's more important for Ayton to get 18 and 11 than it would be for Jake LaRavia right now to get 18 and 11. Marcus Smart did a pretty good job. Vando did a pretty good job. Connect had 6 points. So I think it was nice to see some of these other players get going. And because I got confidence, Jake LaRavia, he can have games like he's had against the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't think that's out of the ordinary. But the one thing I think we don't have to worry about with Jake is, will he be hustling? Will the energy be there? Will he do all the small things? And I think he'll do all that. Let's see what we got here. Zion needs to ask for a trade. I'll come back to that one here in a second. Yes, no one plays inside and out anymore. They don't have to do it they definitely don't have to do it, every possession. You do have Luka Doncic. You do have other players, so I get it. But I also don't think it's good basketball, and I think it's lazy basketball when you just play ISO basketball. It's not good basketball. It's not a good product. And as great as Luka is, or as great as LeBron is, or Austin Reeves, and some of these guys can play ISO basketball, that's not a sustainable formula. So you want to use some of your stars as a decoy. You want to use players that teams don't think are going to get the ball. There's many, many benefits. I mean, go watch. There's so many successful teams out there where you never really knew where the ball was going to go. I think the more that you know where the ball is going to go, it's just that much easier for defenses out there. All right, let's see what else we got here. I think Ayton is more capable than we give him credit for, but that's on Ayton to figure out. That's on Ayton to prove. That's on Ayton to do it on a more consistent basis. That's not on, a fan, or that's not on any of us. That's on Ayton. I mean, Ayton can't go. Ayton had a stretch of a couple games there. He had 2 rebounds in a game. His shot totals were low. You hear JJ Redick talking about, well, why'd you play Jackson Hayes later in the game? He says because he was playing better. So some of that stuff's on Ayton. Love Ayton, though he is inconsistent at times. All right, so that gives us a little bit out here. Ayton was hustling, creating a couple of turnovers. I couldn't believe a big man was doing that. Look, that's the thing that I don't like to see is when a player is capable of doing that, but picks and chooses when to do it. That I don't think is a good sign, right? They need more of these players that are, you can count on me. Every single day, you can count on me. I might have bad games. That's all right. Bad games happen, but you can count on me. So that's what you're hoping for from some of these players. All right, let me take a look here at a couple more of the comments here, and then we'll keep things moving. When Reeves has a lousy offensive night, he can't contribute like Laravia on defense. You're right about that. I don't disagree with that. Now here's what Austin Reeves can do. And guys, can we stop pinning these two players against each other? They're both on the same team. You don't have to pin them against each other. They can both have success together. But here's what I will say. When Austin Reeves is struggling on offense, Austin Reeves can still drop 8 or 10 assists a game. That's not in Jake Laravia's, that's not in his bag. But Jake Laravia can go guard a couple of different positions. And I think he's a decent defender. I'm not telling you he's the best, but I'm telling you he's compared to some of the players that this Lakers team has, he's not a terrible defender. And that's obviously not something that Austin Reeves that you're going to depend on with Austin Reeves. Okay, let's keep moving here. This team hasn't been good all year and still in good shape. Okay, let me take this here for a quick second, and then we'll keep talking obviously about the Lakers win and go from there. Plus, I want to start talking about the Lakers and the Spurs coming up tomorrow. I said this earlier in the week. I was saying something. Listen, I don't like the Lakers against elite teams, and that's the reality, at least right now. But tomorrow they play the San Antonio Spurs. To me, the bigger surprise is they win the game than if they lose the game, right? You've already struggled against San Antonio, lost in that last game. I think Wemby's going to be available. I heard them saying in the broadcast that if he's good after tonight's game, Spurs are on a second of a back-to-back as well. So we'll see what happens with the Lakers, but they have athleticism. They got size. They got multiple guys that can attack. They play defense. I mean, the Spurs are a nice team. They're young, but they're really, really nice as well. There is truth to this comment here that the Lakers have not been whole all season. And maybe there's a little bit of a blessing in disguise here that they got the schedule that they have. I mentioned a little bit earlier. They got one game in this 9-game stretch where they're playing a team over 500. So San Antonio is that game tomorrow. After the San Antonio Spurs, it's what I heard on Spectrum, so I'm just going to make sure that this is right. But after the San Antonio Spurs, Dallas is below 500. Clippers are below 500. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong. Milwaukee's below 500. Sacramento's below 500. Atlanta's below 500. Charlotte's below 500. Portland's below 500 until you finally play Toronto. Then they'll go on a little bit of a road trip and, got some winnable games out there too. But I'm not telling you that Milwaukee's going to be a walk in the park. I'm not telling you Atlanta's going to be a walk in the park. Charlotte just beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. Who the hell knows if all of a sudden they're clicking? I got no idea. I'm not watching Charlotte basketball. But I think the position that the Lakers are in, which is why it's going to be so interesting to see them during these next 30 days. They have the 4th best record in the NBA with everything that's gone on and the doom and gloom that it sounds like after every loss, which is fine. I think there's a case to be made because when they lose to good teams, you're saying to yourself, well, all you're going to face in the playoffs are good teams. If you can't be good teams, that means you're not going to be in the playoffs for very long. But I do think these next 30 days are interesting because will Austin Reeves be back? Okay, Rui and Gabe are going to be back eventually here. Gabe was questionable for tonight, so maybe he goes tomorrow. Maybe he goes in the game on Friday night against the Milwaukee Bucks, as in he's coming back soon. Rui's not on this road trip. You got to expect, okay, give him another week, maybe 2 weeks tops. Is Rui going to be back? If they could address some of their lack of defense by the trade deadline and they could get healthy, they're in an interesting position. Again, they're going to have to prove that they could beat good teams. They're going to have to go on a run where wow, could you see the Lakers? They took out the Rockets, and then they beat the San Antonio Spurs, and then they're going to have to eventually beat good teams. And until they get that opportunity to do so, it's going to be interesting to just kind of watch their schedule. I think March is where the schedule starts getting tougher, but I feel like there's just a lot of average teams out there, which that wasn't the case in the past. It definitely wasn't the case before. Um, to answer your question here, you're not wrong. The team has not been whole, but they have been able to do enough to end up with the third best record in the NBA. Now the next challenge is, can you beat quality teams? I want to see what the trade deadline is. It a week? February 5th. So 1 month from yesterday. So clock is ticking on the trade deadline. All right, let's get some more comments in here. Just show some effort on offense or on the defensive end against the great teams. Let's see what else we got here. I still want to see how this lineup does against the Spurs. I don't expect them to win, but maybe they can keep it close. Let's do this. Let's start talking about the game tomorrow a little bit. Lakers at Spurs against the San Antonio Spurs coming up tomorrow. So here's what I would say for tomorrow's game, expectations-wise. Let's put expectations aside. Let's just what I'd love to see tomorrow. Here's what I'd love to see tomorrow. I'd love to see the Lakers just play hard for 48 minutes, and whatever the hell happens, happens. Because I'm not expecting them to go beat the San Antonio Spurs tomorrow. I'm not. San Antonio seems to have just that lineup, the youngsters, the way they run, the way they play defense, the talent of Victor Wembanyama, Stephon Castle, go down the list, De'Aaron Fox, all these other players that they have. Lakers have not won games like that. But here's what I'd like to see from the Lakers tomorrow. Play tough and kind of take your chances, see what happens. Don't get punked. Can you walk into the fourth quarter and we got a ball game? And again, whether they won that game or they lost that game tomorrow, I think how they play against the good teams means a lot. If you lose again by 20, then the theme just continues of, well, you can beat bad teams, but you're getting blown out by the good teams. That would be the theme that continues. So Lakers got the San Antonio Spurs coming up tomorrow. It is very odd to see. And obviously I wasn't watching the game. I was watching the Lakers game. But yeah, Memphis, who had been struggling like crazy, or at least losing against the Lakers 2 games in a row, beat San Antonio. They all play. Yep, Wemby's still coming off the bench. 30 points for Wemby. De'Aaron Fox only had 9 points, was 4 of 18 from the field. Harrison Barnes was just 1 of 6. Stephon Castle was 5 of 14. So they struggled. That is a good sign, bad sign. Is it a good sign or a bad sign that they struggled? I know we've kind of dealt with this before with the Pistons, but so interesting to kind of see. This is also kind of just a weird wrinkle. Ja Morant doesn't look like he even played. And Memphis seems to be having success when Ja Morant's not there. So Lakers got the Spurs tomorrow. We'll find out if Victor Wembanyama ends up playing. But I thought I heard the broadcast saying today on Spectrum that he may be playing. May not. So we'll have to wait and see. Devin Vassell did not play. So there's, obviously a key player there for the Spurs that did not play in this game earlier today. So we'll see if he plays tomorrow. So Lakers got the Spurs tomorrow. I mentioned from an NBA standings perspective where the Lakers are sitting after another win. So, obviously a nice win for the Lake Show today to put themselves in a position. With the Spurs loss, they're now third, and I think a game out of the number 2 spot. I don't know how they're second. It just kind of points to the balance in the Western Conference. I guess anybody can beat anybody any given night, and it's that simple. Nobody's perfect. The Oklahoma City Thunder are losing games. They're 5-5 in their, maybe 6-6 in their last 12 games, I think is what we read a little bit earlier. So something to keep in mind there. Shout out to Harris Resort SoCal. If you're looking for a getaway, you're out here in Southern California and you want to just kind of try to find a place to go for a staycation, I got a place for you. It's Harris Resort. Go to harrissocal.com. Kind of help coordinate your getaway. Don't worry about going to an airport. Don't worry about paying the crazy fees it is to travel anywhere. You don't even have to travel very far and go get a round trip ticket, and it's ridiculous. Then you got to go rent a car and do everything else. Harris SoCal, you got the entertainment. They got comedy shows there. They got concerts that are there. They got phenomenal restaurants. I think Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen is one of the best restaurants in Southern California. I could tell you that personally because I've eaten there. Shout out to Harris Resort for being a partner here on the channel. They're going to be here throughout the rest of the season, and excited for this partnership that I'm doing with Harris, a part of my iHeartRadio program as well. So harrissocal.com. If you go to that website, you can book your getaway. All right, let's spend the rest of the show just reading a little bit of some of these comments, and then we'll go for another 5 minutes or so and go from there. We'll go as long as we need to go. Let's see what we got here. Yep. Deadline is on February 5th. When I was doing the show this morning, I do actually think this. I think it's a kind of a fascinating next 6 months for Rob Pelinka too. Is this team going in the right direction, or are they kind of status quo? Or are they just not moving, kind of their feet in the mud? Be kind of an interesting couple of weeks, I think, or interesting next month, and then interesting next 6 months. Think Lakers have any interest in Trae Young? Yeah, that news came out yesterday that the Atlanta Hawks, who are 2-8, by the way, when Trae Young plays. I know probably not the fairest stat out there. There's other things that come into play. Kristaps Porzingis, but the optics aren't good for him. I think there's no interest in Trae Young. I think Trae Young's got to be very specific to a team that needs his skill set. The Atlanta Hawks no longer need that skill set. They got Jalen Johnson. They got some other plays. They got some Nickeil Walker-Alexander is having a really nice season as well. There's other players that they have that are kind of shining. Dyson Daniel. So I think the Trae Young pieces, it's got to be with a team that makes sense. Lakers don't make any sense. They already have enough scorers that can't guard. They don't need another one. So I don't think there's anything there with Trae Young, and I think it would be foolish to even consider it. He's got to be on a specific team, the right team. Minnesota. I'm just naming teams off that would need a scoring point guard or a guy. I mean, listen, Trae Young also facilitates. So I think that he's just got to be with the right squad, and certainly it's not going to be with the Lakers. LeBron probably sitting tomorrow. That'd be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think these are both fair questions. Will Wemby play tomorrow? Will LeBron play tomorrow? Wemby's on a minutes restriction, so I think that's, obviously part of what he's dealing with. LeBron is just a second of a back-to-back. Damn, LeBron tonight, the 38-8. I don't want to make too big of a deal of it, but he looked very, very smooth tonight. He looked himself tonight. He looked exactly, what you're hoping for from LeBron tonight. And I still am not 100% sure how that's possible, how he could still do it, but he's still doing it. So give the man his credit. LeBron could have played tomorrow if they took care of the Pelicans early and rested in the fourth. Brother, if there's one thing I've learned watching Lakers basketball, there is no such thing as stars sitting in the fourth quarter. I swear I've been saying that for the past 3-4 years, and it never happens, ever. But I know what you're talking about. I know what you're referring to, but it just never happens. Never happens. Lakers have their hands full tomorrow. I need to see them play with a sense of urgency and effort. I'm with you. That's all kind of I'm asking for against the San Antonio Spurs. They're talented. They're young. Everybody gets up to play the Lakers. They run the ball. They play defense. I mean, they got a lot of things that don't match up well against the Lakers. All right, play tough for 48 minutes, and we'll see what happens. Ja, Trae, Zion, what a disappointment, man. Yeah, I'm with you on that. All these guys you thought were their franchise players, at least, they've had some success. Ja Morant had some success. Trae Young had some success. Zion really has not had success where it includes postseason. That's what I'm talking about, includes playoffs. But maybe they'll get opportunities in other places and they'll go from there. I heard somebody saying earlier today, do they swap Ja Morant for Trae Young and give them both just a new look? I don't know. I just know that where they're both at right now is not going to work. All right. We absolutely need a statement win. I don't think you're wrong on that. I don't think you're wrong with that. Because I think right now with the Lakers, they're only going to get taken seriously to a point. You have to have good wins in order to get taken seriously. Obviously, without Austin Reeves, that makes things a lot more difficult, but take advantage of the schedule in front of you. And Lakers took advantage of the schedule in front of them tonight and were able to make it happen. All right, my people. I'm back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Sorry for about 15 minutes late today. I wanted to get on at 8. Ended up going about 8:15. Just had some technical issues. Unfortunately, that's part of the gig. So thank you for being a part of the show. Lakers over the Pelicans, 111-103. Back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. We'll get the show in the morning tomorrow. We'll do Lakers Spurs post game as well. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your night.